I've always had a problem with artificers in my fantasy games. I mean, I've had them in my games and they're fine, but I've never really been able to get excited about them until recently. I just finished watching the anime Witch Hat Atelier, and my god, that was amazing. Just to give a quick spoilerish free rundown. Honestly, if you haven't watched it, you should just stop this video and go watch it. Don't watch anything else on YouTube. Like, go watch it. It is phenomenal. Anyways, how magic works in there, it's pretty much it's all about drawing and penmanship. And so they'll draw symbols. The middle represents like the element, and then the outside stuff represents what it does, and then there's a big circle around it that is kind of like the activation switch type of deal. And so what you'll see sometimes happen is they'll have like a notepad type of deal where they'll write out the inscriptions and then not fully complete the circle. And they'll use it in combat by either tucking it into their robes and finishing it in the circle because magic is secretive and stuff. They're not really supposed to show that they're just drawing, just cool story plot on its own. But that's how they cast magic, is they'll draw and then the spell happens. And so they kind of almost, if you think about like D&D spell slots, this isn't where I'm going exactly, but with D&D spell slots, it kind of works like that. I think in D&D and most fantasy tabletop role-playing games, when you think of this sort of, you maybe have pen and paper and you're drawing, it kind of gives that feel of ritual casting, which makes your mind go towards wizards. And it very well could be the case with that. I could see very easily where there's a wizard with a spell book and they're using it in combat. D&D has like the scribes wizard. I could see this very well working with that subclass. And I could see you holding the book in combat and kind of writing in this book to cast spells. Super cool idea. I think the Witch Hat Atelier magic system could map onto wizards very easily, not so much sorcerers. Could maybe make a case for warlock even. If you have watched it, maybe a warlock could be like if they're doing the inscriptions on themselves or something. That might be an interesting idea. But I think the natural place that your mind goes for this type of idea is just, oh, this is a fun idea for maybe wizard spell casting in a world. But the more I thought about it, the more I realized that honestly, I think artificers might map onto this even better. Something that they'll do is they don't just draw on paper, they'll draw on different objects. The main example that my mind goes to, and I think it's one of the first things that you see, is they put these magic circles on a pair of boots. And it'll be, so you have two shoes, and on one of the shoes is half of the magic circle. On the second shoe is the other half of the magic circle. And we put your feet together, it's a complete magic circle. And they'll put like the wind element on it. And this gives whoever's wearing the boots flight. This type of thing can map perfectly onto the artificer. This is exactly what infusions are. It's taking a mundane item like boots or rings and giving them this magic touch. But artificers, at least for me, a lot of times go towards more of that sciencey realm. But by having these magic circles that can attach to the rings or attach to the boots or to armor, swords, any of these other items, that is artificer infusions. That's fantastic. I think it's a very cool way to have artificers feel they're not quite wizards. Like, they're not doing the wizard spellcasting thing. Wizards can still be their own book nerds type of vibe and casting it straight from their hands. But if you also want to throw this Witch Hat Atelier vibe in, you can have that be artificers. Like, that can be the artificer class. Even something like the Steel Defender, you can have that be activated by these magic circles, maybe animating it to life. There's just a lot of different things you can do. You can justify these items becoming magical through these complex inscriptions that not just anybody can learn. And even if you've seen it and you've memorized it, maybe you don't have the steady hand and your lines aren't smooth and the whole thing becomes a disaster. It also lines up with the idea that infusions are temporary. If the artificer dies, the infusion goes away, and that feels weird. It just feels like a cop out. I get it from a game balancing standpoint. I absolutely get it from a game balancing standpoint. but from a lore perspective, that feels bad. But with this, you can have some sort of justification that when the artificer has these infusions and is maintaining them, maybe is tracing back over the lines with a fine hand, and once the artificer dies, hopefully they don't, maybe hopefully they do, depending on what kind of game master you are, but once the artificer passes away, maybe you're not able to perfectly trace over them, and eventually they're going to lose their potency. Now, this is all well and good, and maybe you are already inspired, but we have to ask the question, what do we actually do with this? I think a very fun idea that you can take and just put into your games is a Witch Hat Atelier Academy. You can call it just a Witch's Academy if you have a different term. I don't know, Penmanship Academy, Scribes Academy, something like that. Some sort of magical school that focuses on teaching these artificers how to make these temporary magic items. Before this Witch Academy, maybe your players have heard rumors of a special type of spell that they infuse on an item, or maybe they're just known as magic item crafters, and the secrets of what they do isn't exactly obvious to the public. They seem just like they're master crafters, when in reality, it's just magical ink. And so maybe there's a certain spell you need to combat this dragon that's been looming overhead that's threatening the local village you guys are saving for the moment. So somehow you get that plot hook, and maybe that brings you down to the docks because you're going to sail. Maybe this is Witch Hat Academy or Witch Academy is on this kind of desolate island, and you need to take a boat to get there. That already gives you a lot of room for introducing some NPCs. Your party might be looking around. All these boats are like, yeah, no, we're not going there. We're not heading in that direction. And maybe it's one of the students or a new student going to the academy, or maybe a professor approaches your party, overhearing this kind of secretive magic they're asking about, and say, "Hey, are you asking about the Witch Academy? It's kind of hush hush, but my boat over here is going there." And so, I mean, boat rides are always fantastic for adventure. So many different things happen on the sea as your players are traveling to this island. And maybe one of the reasons this Witch Academy is secretive, or something that aids them in their being secretive, maybe this island is not safe to travel to at all, and the waters are very choppy. There's monsters. That kind of adds to this element of our magic techniques are secret, and we intentionally are living here to keep people away. And so, after days and nights of these choppy seas, your players eventually arrive at the academy. They can start interacting with some NPCs. Hopefully, there is a handful of NPCs on the ship. Maybe one of them they got attached to and can show them around the academy. Maybe it's that professor example we were talking about. And you're going through this school, seeing the different witches, how their magic system is kind of working here. And then a great encounter you could run is honestly just having like the professor even offer to duel this duel maybe one member of the party. You can pick out the spellcaster and have this sort of battle of magic systems, and where the professor is going to be using the uh, pen and paper casting abilities, whereas your sorcerer wizard is going to use more classic fantasy magic. And to add stakes to this combat, you can easily have it where the professor maybe says, if you're able to beat me, or maybe the professor has you fight like their top student or something, and if the players win or the player representative wins, the professor will cover tuition for a whole school year, and that will allow the party to become equipped with this new magic casting to defeat the dragon, whatever threat they've came here to counter. And there you go. I mean, from there, that is, if the players are having tuition covered for a year, that is an entire adventure you could run from level 1 to who knows what level. That's you can just do so much with that. So hopefully that helped. If you have any other ideas, if this gave you any cool ideas, share them in the comments below. Anybody watching this, definitely read the comments below. Hopefully there's some good ideas there, and this can kickstart your next campaign or have a nice little story arc for your players to go through. Thank you so much for watching.